Just, okay. Stream, but what's this say? Content is being sent to a third party. Got it. Oh, I think we're there. We are there. I think. Are we streaming?
It says we're streaming
Yeah,
live on
it says we're
YouTube.
streaming live on YouTube. Yes, we are.
It's official.
It's official. There we go. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Is it really saying we're streaming? Because it's not showing up on my end. That's weird. I can't find the link.
It's showing here. It's got like your
Okay.
little green pulsing thing saying YouTube.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we are here. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of the weekly roundup, April 12th, 2024. And the last weekend before, guess what happens in the United States? Monday is April 15th. Are your taxes done? Guess what I'm going to be doing this weekend?
I was like, yes, they've been done. But I happen to know that you hadn't done yours. That's why you're tracking so closely.
Yes, that's why I'm tracking so closely. So, yes. So, what is going on in the world, in the yoga world? So, I've had several interesting conversations with clients lately about, what's going on with their classes, and some classes are slowing down, and what's going on here. And when we kind of peel back the proverbial layers of the onion, it turns out that really what they have is a product problem. And I know we've talked about this before. In fact, I think Josh posted in the YC a while back about a product problem. What do we mean by a product problem? We mean, are your classes being taught consistently? Like I was recently at a studio, and their signature series, which is a basic vinyasa, it's a vinyasa flow. And, they're supposed, like every single class was so different. And one of the things we talk about is having consistency of product. And we like it that the instructors can bring their own unique flavor, and people like that, the variety. However, if one teacher is teaching the signature flow class one way and another teacher is teaching a completely different way, and this person is known for being super duper hard, and this person is like, kind of like, take it easy, honey, that's a problem. Because then there's not consistency in your schedule. And if I'm a client and I'm like, okay, Carol's class is great, Nina's not, Vicky, I'm like, oh my God, it's snooze fest in their class. And it's the same, it's supposed to be the same class. That is a problem. And so one of the things I'm talking to a lot of clients lately is like, and of course, a lot of us are Bikram yogis. And so that's a great example of a product that is the same thing. 26 postures, 2 breathing exercises, same sequence, day in and day out. It's a very rigid framework. And we get it, particularly in other types of yoga. That's not the way it works. However, there is something to be said for having a framework for your class so that everybody starts it the same way, like goes up to like a peak, comes down, brings it back up one more time, comes down, and finishes on the floor with a final savasana. And within that, with one client, they were saying like, well, some people do core work and some people don't. All right, let's define it. Let's define what the flow, what the framework of our vinyasa class is, of our power vinyasa class, whatever it is, so that when the teachers are teaching it, there is a familiarity, and everybody's going to get this similar experience. I'm not saying identical like a Bikram class, but at least a similar experience. So if it's supposed to be a rigorous flow class, then it damn well should be a rigorous flow class, regardless of who's teaching. And I think all too often what happens is the teachers kind of go off and do their own thing, and then we got to rein them back in. And then even to like one client, well, some people play music, some people don't. Define your product. Define your product, and then make sure your website reflects that. And make sure, I'll get you just a sec, Vicki, make sure that the description matches the class, and you're not using like the curse of knowledge, where I was reading a description yesterday. I knew what the things they were talking about were, but I'm like, if you were new to yoga, what the heck does this mean? I'm like, oh, right. You want to make sure, because keep in mind that people are coming to your website typically are going to be people who haven't been to your studio before. Your existing clients are booking through the app. So you want to make sure that it clearly communicates what it is and everybody's teaching it. Vicky.
So I think many studio owners see this as not being a product problem, but a teacher problem. It's because you hear a lot of, oh, this teacher's class are so popular. This teacher has a following. People really, really like this teacher, but this other teacher is really new and etc. etc. I don't know if is there a difference here? Is there a difference between the flow world and the hot yoga slash ex Bikram world?
I don't think so. I do.
I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you said. You should
Yes, I
have those
think
things
that
should be defined. And I think often it's a problem that they are not, these things are not defined. The class, what do you call it? There's no class formula. There
there's
is
no
no
class
written class
formula. Yeah.
formula.
I think that if in the case of, is it a teacher or product problem? I think that first, if you don't have the formula there for the class, that's where you have to first start. And then if the framework or the formula of the class is defined and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, and then still a teacher, then perhaps, then you could say, yes, it's a teacher problem. And how can we support this teacher to either get them to where their class is full or at least trending that way, or we truthfully have to replace them. But I think it's unfair to sometimes to the teacher is if the product is so loosey-goosey and they think they're doing it right, but they're not, then that falls that to me that falls on the owner of the business. And the other thing, I had a really great conversation with the client yesterday, and this is where you can go into your software and look. We took a look at analyzed the attendance history for the last year. And we looked at what were the popular classes. And so in this studio, they had some like restorative classes and some gentle classes. And guess where they were in that studio? At the bottom. And I said, you guys, when I look at you and when I see your website and when I talk to you and hear what you're doing, you guys are not a gentle restorative yoga. I said, why have it? Really? I mean, who is your core demographic? And then part of it was they were trying to be all things to all people. And you really can't, because then what happens is you're like mediocre to everybody. Hey, hi, wait, you're in YouTube land, Lisa. No. Yes, you are. You are live. My sister came to see my dog, not me. She came to see my dog. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. So yes, so let me ask, can you be all things to all people?
Mm.
No.
No, also, I've seen this before. There are like 22 classes on the weekly schedule, and there are 16 class styles.
Yeah.
It becomes really hard for, there's a good rule. You want to give people enough opportunity with putting their type of class on so that they can have a regular practice.
Yes.
That's a really good rule of thumb. So, if you have one avatar is people who really like the gentle and restorative classes, well, there's got to be a number of them on per week, maybe I would say 3, 4, maybe, so that they can come regularly.
If that is an avatar that you attract,
Mm-hmm.
if those classes are full, then yeah, then because I conversely had another studio that their power classes weren't so, but they're more restorative, gentle. They're like slow flow classes, and their gentle were packed. I'm like, you guys aren't a power class. You're not a power studio, right? Even the name of the studio made it seem more gentle and calming. So that's the other thing is know what type of studio do you want to be? I mean, sorry guys, I go back to Bikram all the time, but you knew what you were getting when you went to a Bikram studio. Right, which is why I think Gabby Walters, who came up with IHP, Infertile Hot Pilates, was brilliant with her marketing, because that's actually a very perfect fit for a Bikram studio, same kind of type of avatar, right? So I'm not saying you have to be like that, but looking at your key avatars, and if you have 16 classes, you're not helping anyone. It's like, well, yes.
No, that means that, you know, depending on how big your weekly schedule is,
Yeah.
you can only have so many class styles. If it's 16 classes a week, well, maybe you can only have 4 or 5 class styles.
If you only have 16 classes a week, I would argue maybe 1 or 2 max. 2 or 3. I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, 16 classes a week is a fairly small schedule. If you have 4 classes, 4 class styles, that's only
as a minimum, a bare minimum.
Yeah. So
Probably
that's
better to have more.
probably better to have more or have only 1 or 2 type of classes.
And usually, I mean, most studios would have, I guess, more signature class. That there is one that is, you know, this is our signature class. We have a little bit more of this.
When I've been coaching with people and they have like you're saying 16 different styles, and we really drill down into it, there's so many that are so similar that we can combine them and really sort of figure out a way to, you know, streamline them and make them similar. And yeah, like sometimes it's like something that's described just on Sundays or something like we don't need a power flow just for Sunday morning sunrise or something. Like let's bring these together and make it you know, a little less out there. And I think this is all boils down to the reason why that we need to have these classes streamlined is you want the students to like, know, and trust you. And when the class is inconsistent, that trust sort of goes away. You know, I think I've talked about this before where I went to a studio that on the schedule, it was a hot vinyasa, and I got there and the teacher was like, you know, is it okay if I don't turn the heat on? And other people in the class said yes. And I was like, I'm new here. I don't really feel like I could. It's why I came, you know? And so that was my first experience of that studio. And I thought, well, if it's like this all the time and inconsistent, I don't know if I would, like, I'd probably give them one more chance to see if what was on the schedule was what I actually got in studio. And then if I didn't, how would I trust them? How would I know what I'm getting, you know?
My personal opinion is the biggest cop out is teacher says, oh, what do you want to work on today? That tells me they don't even have a plan for the class. Right? I don't know. And then, yeah, like you said, and then kind of goes down, who is running the business? Who's running the zoo? Are the monkeys running the zoo? Or is the zookeeper running the zoo? And, you know, a conversation with this client yesterday, it's like she realized she'd let it get too far out there. And and the teachers are like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And sometimes it's like we're like fearful of saying no. It's like, no, that doesn't fit with what we're doing. And or if they come up with a new class style, then okay, let's have a plan for it. What's the plan for it? It kind of goes back to the grunt test. What is it? Why would I want to take this class? And how do I sign up?
It's also a bit risky to have a class style that only one teacher can teach.
Yeah.
If something happens. So when you have these like really individual style, like somebody's like, I want to combine this vinyasa and it's going to be a bit of Bikram and then it's going to be yin at the end. It's like, I have created this. It's a great idea, but what happens when you're not there?
Yeah. And yes, what happens when you're not there? And I agree. We met with a new client, was it a couple weeks ago, Nina, you and I, and the state was like, to Carol's point, they had a slow flow, they had a gentle flow, they had and it's like
they had restorative, they had yin.
Yeah, it's like, well, what's the difference? Well, that's what the teacher wants to call it. And we're like, no.
Right. Let's consolidate.
Let's consolidate. And then, you know, naming too. What does this mean? Sometimes it is, let's just call a thing the thing. And not try to come up with something that's super clever. Because again, we want people to be able to recognize it. If it's a vinyasa flow class, call it a vinyasa flow class. You could call it a something vinyasa flow kind of thing if you want to put a little signature on it, you know. Anyway, so that's just sort of my rant on
I'm
product.
my weekly class that I go to here in Helsingborg where I live, it's called Hot After Work.
Hot after work.
Nice.
They only have it once a week on a Friday. If I
Cool.
didn't know this studio, I would have no idea, because normally here when they say after work, they mean drinking booze. So, but luckily I know this studio. I know what this class is going to be.
The class. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with having, like, if you have a signature class that you do like once a week, I mean, like they do like a happy hour. And it's just, you know, I mean, I think sometimes things like that, that's fine. You know, something fun, or they do one with like once a month for a special class for members. That's great. Right? Having those one-off kind of things, it's not a bad thing. It's just that when you look at your schedule overall, it needs to be consistent. And the teachers need to be teaching consistently so that the product that's being delivered is what people are expecting. Because like I said, just recently, it's just looking at numbers. It's like, it's a product problem.
Mhm. So related, but slight variation on the theme. I'm curious. I've heard, and I'm wondering if you can confirm or deny that across the board, traditional Bikram studios, that style is waning in terms of attendance and popularity to Vinyasa. No, you don't see that.
I have Bikram Studios, OG 26 and 2, crushing it.
And in those studios, do they also offer other styles?
They offer, like, I'm thinking of a couple of them. Well, it's like a good, like I said, a good complement for Bikram is like IHP
Right.
and Infernal Hot Pilates. Yin Yoga is actually a really good complement with Bikram.
Yeah.
I will say that I think sometimes just only Bikram studios can be a little bit of a struggle. But in terms of still the 90-minute 26 and 2, I still see that people still want that.
Yeah. So then it was a two-parter. My next follow-up would be, because anecdotally so I love being a consumer of this yoga. I love being a secret, not secret, but a student. And in
For
the
shopper.
yeah. And side note, like you can't ever turn it off, you know, like what do you find that to be true when you're a student and you're like,
Think about it.
I love how they did that. Oh, they really missed the boat here. You know, it's fascinating. But there's a couple Bikram studios that also offer other styles. And what I'm noticing is that their Bikram classes are really low attended. And I'm a Bikram teacher and I teach other styles, and the teachers are like lackluster. So I was just kind of trying to deduce then, oh, that must be a product problem.
Product problem with Bikram is
That's
in
not
that
a teacher problem. That's how that studio.
well, in that case, I would say it's probably a teacher problem. And I just, in some of the clients I see, it's like sometimes the OG Bikram teachers don't think they need to improve.
Right.
They're very stubborn.
And then it's also what class times is it on? Like, are these prime time? Is it like comparable class times?
Yeah.
Well, and also like, is anyone giving feedback in your
Yeah.
studio? Like at some point I feel like there's a set it and forget it mentality. Like you think this person's been doing this forever, and I'm sure I don't need to think about their class anymore, but everyone needs feedback.
Yeah. And as you said, Terry, like even in the Bikram where it is a formula, it's still there's many ways to teach that class.
Exactly. So in that case, when you have such a defined product like a Bikram class, or even some of the like an Ashtanga class with the Mysore series or something like that, then that becomes like you said, Carol, you hit it. It's not you can't do set it and forget it. Some people just think if I go in there, stand on the podium and say my dialogue, that's a good class. And I remember I had a teacher that ultimately she let herself go, but I wasn't. Anyway, I was glad she left because I tried to work with her. And not only did she have a dialogue, she had a dialogue within a dialogue. meaning she said the same thing like between sets and the same thing before class and the same thing after class. And one time I was taking her class, she was talking about and news, and I'm like, and her name was Sunny. And after I said, Sunny, you kept talking, there were no new people in your class. There were, oh, what? She didn't remember.
She wasn't
Yeah.
teaching.
She wasn't, it's just like she just would go in seriously on complete autopilot, and she would do that. It was like the whole class was core. She would move. It was really, really interesting. So that definitely then is a teacher problem,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Okay. So
Or
distinguishing.
teachers not being given feedback and
Our
mentoring.
teachers not given feedback,
Yeah.
which is an
Yeah.
owner problem, because hashtag Terry's dad. If there's a problem in your business, all you have to do is look in the mirror. And there's the solution. Then the problem starts with you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like either I mean, and I found that to be 100% true. It was either something I wasn't doing that I should do or didn't know about. It's like, so it's really is oftentimes if the business is struggling, it's like, unless there's really extenuating circumstances like a pandemic. But even then one could argue that there are things you can do for that, for planning. Understanding what's happening in your business is paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, mic drop. Nina, what you were mentioning something before we got on that was really fascinating.
Yeah, it was kind of on that note, actually, of being a consumer, being a secret shopper, not really, but just being a yoga student and showing up and paying for yoga classes. And Carol and I were talking about sales. Carol was training me on the sales training, our studios that we work with. And we got to the part about body language and how only 7% of communication is verbal and 58% is physical. Is right, body language.
Body language. Yeah.
What's the math? What am I missing?
Tone.
38%
is tone.
38% is tone. Okay, so I had a fascinating experience recently in a yoga studio as a student, as a paying customer. That was the words were fine. The words were fine, but the body language and the tone was so off-putting and aggressive and just flat out rude that it really, like, this was maybe a week ago, and I haven't been able to shake it. I'm like, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. Like, who does she think she is talking to me like that? Doesn't she know who I am? I'm a teacher. I'm a former student. I'm a coach. No, but also I'm just a human being, and that's no way to speak to someone. So, and also just like wanting to maybe give her feedback, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
She was the manager of the studio. And what happened was she scolded me really hardcore. I had to leave early to get my dog. That's a great excuse. I got to get my dog from the vet. But I had told the teacher ahead of time, hey, just so you know, I'm leaving a few minutes early. She goes, oh, that's fine. And then I'm leaving, and there's the manager, and she said, is everything okay? But she didn't say it like that. And I said, oh, yes, I'm just going to get my dog. And then she said, this is just the content, the words. Okay, next time plan to stay the whole time. Those are fine words. That's perfectly reasonable. But the way she said it was so shaming and rude and all of these things that it really left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Go enjoy your hot after work class, Vicki.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye. Well, yeah, it's like, it's not necessarily sometimes what you say, it's how you say it.
Say it. And people are that, we're animals, so we're responding to tone and to, body language and all of that. And so,
yeah, I use the example when I do the sales training in person, like you said, with animals, with dogs, it's like, oh, you're such a fucking little piece of shit, I just hate you and die, and they're like, right, as opposed to, I love you, it's like, good dog, right? Oh, she just looked at me, she's like, right, my little dog. So yeah, so tone of voice is huge.
And actually, one of the people that I learned so much, it was the first studio I ever managed. And she said, and this really stuck with me. She said, you can say anything if you say it with a smile,
Yes.
and not like a fake smile, like a real genuine.
Yeah.
And that was, and we were talking, it was in the context of a sales conversation.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. And that's like we say when you're with enforcing a policy or a refund or something like that. It's like, I understand why you're upset. This is our policy. This is what I can do for you.
Let's be in solution.
Let's be in solution mode.
not
We're
fight.
not able to do this. However, we can do this. Now, one thing that actually I started with a couple of clients is, typically people will like forget to cancel their membership. This is common, right? And their membership gets billed and they call and they want a refund for their membership payment. And even though it clearly says in every place, everywhere, every receipt, it's like minimum 5 days, 7 days, whatever it is, notice to cancel your membership. They want the refund of that charge.
Which is why I love the self-cancellation policy.
Well, yes, so self-cancellation is good. Unfortunately, some softwares don't allow self-cancellation, which is a bummer. Anyway, be that as it may. So one of the things we came up with is we took whatever their 10-pack was, and let's just make it super easy math. Let's just say your 10-pack is $150 and your membership payment is $130, right? So then what we would do is basically that's $15 a class for a 10-pack, right? Of $150. So then we would just take 130 divided by 15. That's 8.66 classes. What you can say is, it would probably be better if let's say the membership is $199, which is $19.90 a class. So $130 divided by 19.9, that's 6.5 classes. So we say, hey, this is what we can do. We can put 7 classes on your account that you can use for 1 year, however long you want to have them. And then you can, come and take class with us. So we're not refunding the money. We're just taking, and we're not saying we'll charge you the difference between this and a 10-pack. We just created, in one client's case, it was like a 6-pack. We just created a little special 6-pack for that exact instance where someone had canceled their membership. I didn't cancel their membership, but wants to cancel and now wants a refund. So then we're like, hey, we'll just take the membership plan and give you these 6 classes. And then it's not something that anybody sells. It's just there in their system. And they basically can refund the amount of the membership to their account and then use that to purchase this special little 6-pack. In another case, it was a 7-pack. And that has been fairly effective it's been effective for these 2 studios. A couple of times they've still gone ahead and refunded, because the reality, if someone really wants to, they'll just dispute the charge. And then you have to jump through all the hoops to do that. I don't know about you guys, but I never want to dispute a charge.
I did.
You did?
Yeah, everyone that I disputed.
Really?
Yeah. I
God.
think maybe one didn't go through, but like the rest, yeah.
Wait, are you
I don't
saying
know.
you never disputed a chargeback?
Yeah, the chargeback.
You didn't dispute a chargeback.
We disputed, but she never won the dispute.
I never won. I get the
I see.
chargeback.
Yeah,
I would challenge the charge. I would dispute the charge. I would challenge the chargeback.
Yeah.
I never won.
Oh yeah. Maybe it's a state thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
I know. So tell me, what are your secrets?
I would just screenshot the agreement, the dates, the charge,
Show their signature.
show their signature. Yeah.
Yeah. It worked.
Wow.
I don't know.
Bad karma, bad juju for me. Oh well. Lesson learned. That's why I don't own a studio anymore.
Yeah, it's nice to have that solution though, that like, okay, well, what we can do is, and then hopefully everyone's happy.
Yeah, it's like, we're not able to do this, but what we can do this.
Yeah.
Speaking kind of along those lines, I had a client get a really bad Yelp review.
Mhm.
And the reason why was that a new person showed up to take class. They were late. And they, like a lot of studios, for a lot of, especially safety reasons, lock the front door when class begins, pound it on the front door, and then look through the window, notice that the back door was open at the studio because they were doing some work and going. So he came around the back of the studio and came in, and then the owner was there, and then a guy just ripped him a new one.
Wow.
And then the owner responded to the Yelp review, I thought, really brilliantly. But, what do we do in those circumstances in terms of do we stick to our guns? And like, that's kind of been.
With that type of person, I don't want you in my studio.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like, I would respond to the Yelp review and
Yeah.
I would say something like, it doesn't sound like this is the place for you. I hope you find a studio that meets your needs.
Oh, that's a good.
That was always like, I hope you find a studio that meets your needs.
That's
that
a
was
good one, Carol.
So I don't want somebody like that in
Yeah.
my space
We're
who's
not-
going to disrupt like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we recently had at the studio I'm teaching at, not we, but the owners, whatever, politely and kindly told somebody that they're not welcome.
They exited them from the business.
Yeah, because they were just aggressive and it happened too many times.
What goes back to your core values?
Right.
You have to fire students sometimes.
Yeah.
They're not aligning. And again, that was always my go-to. It doesn't sound like we're meeting your needs. Our
Right.
core values do not align.
Meeting
I
your
hope you
needs.
find a place that meets your needs.
Yeah.
We are not that studio. And
Right.
I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, I don't know.
Yeah, because you
And
definitely.
my body language probably showed, because it's not easy for my face
Yeah.
to not show how I'm feeling. But going back to body language is you stay calm
Yeah.
and say it with a, polite tone.
Mhm.
No, yeah, that's how I would deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, aligning with core values, protects your staff safety comes first, not just your clients, but staff safety.
Yeah.
If your teachers are feeling, I remember a while back had a client who it was the teacher, it wasn't anything, it was one of those things they couldn't put their finger on it. It was a male, it was a male, and just with the young female teachers. They were like, there was nothing really, but yet they all got the same feeling.
Mm-hmm. The ick factor.
The ick factor.
Yep.
And so the studio director stepped right in and just kind of did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like since so many studio owners are female, it's can be more challenging to put up those barriers or almost come off in an impolite way. So, I think that that's something we have to learn as business owners too, and feel, empowered to do those things.
Yeah.
I think one of the best lessons I learned early on was like, not everybody's going to like you, especially when we open the studio. You can't be all things to all people, and not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you have to really be okay with that. And yeah, so this all kind of ties into that too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and also another thing I learned is don't check your email before you go to bed.
No. And do not respond to an email right away.
But you're right away.
Wait 24 hours.
At least. Yes.
Right.
Yes, I learned that one night. I was checking my email before I went to bed, and I got an email, and it just so upset me that I couldn't. It was like I tossed and turned all night. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boundaries with yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What else is any fun things coming up? What are some of your clients doing? Preparing for summer? we're Q2, we're 12 days into Q2. I know we've talked about like some summer challenges and, what were some of the things you did at your studio in the summer months?
Yeah, we did, well, the summer challenge, different fun workshops. We talked about this last week, but like
We did talk about, I just had a senior, I realized, what? We talked about this last week.
but it's still true.
It is still true. It is still true. Yeah.
So, and that mindset, it's the mindset that change your mind about
That you can
summer.
sustain, yeah, your
Right.
revenue through the summer, even if the attendance
Right.
drops a little bit. Yeah. So
Yeah. I'm excited. Next week I'll be visiting Seattle, and so I'll drop in on my old studio. And it's always exciting to check in and see where they are. I mean, I know they're doing
I don't know. It's like, I told Carol this because Carol still works at the studio, her former
Yeah.
studio, now after what, year and a half?
it's a year and a half. Yeah.
A year and a
Mhm.
half. And I give her huge credit for that because I don't know. I don't think I'm tentatively planning to go back to Massachusetts this summer because, I haven't been back. I still have friends there, and it would be fun to go visit my friends. And my one friend that she had closed her studio and reopened in another location during the pandemic, and I haven't been to her new studio. And so, yeah, and I'm just like, it'd be weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
It's been 4 years. This summer it'll be 5.
It'll be, for me, it's 4 years this summer.
Yeah.
4 years in July since I sold my studio. So yeah, I mean, it's been a while. There was another studio that opened south. Actually, there used to be a studio in this town, and then before it closed, right before I bought my studio, and it closed down. And so then, I mean, so it was a good area for a studio. Long story short, someone did open a studio in that town, and I happened to know, actually the owner was one of my clients, and he just wanted to have a place to practice close to home, so he built a studio. And so some of my former teachers, anyway, so he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you come up and teach some classes. This would be great." And I mean, I do have a non-compete with my former studio, and it specifically precludes me from doing that. So I reached out to her just to see how she would feel about it. And she responded back that, I guess, and then I got the little bit of the 411 after. There's been some friction between these two studio owners. And then she said in her email, "But I would love it if you want to come. I would love to have you come teach a class, blah, blah, blah." And I just said, "Okay, well, I'll keep you updated." And that's why I'm like, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to. Well, first off, she really isn't a Bikram studio anymore. She has a couple of Bikram. One of my good friends still teaches there, but I don't, anyway, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
I just think it would
Really
be
let
weird.
go. It's like it's not, yeah. One of my best friends teaches there, and I get an earful here and there.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's been a good practice to
Yeah.
unplug.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not there like Carol. I'm not there every day, or I'm there once or twice a year. I pop in. But anyway, I'm proud of them. They're opening a second location.
Yeah, no, and the woman who bought my studio opened a second location, I guess it was into 2022 or 2023, which is awesome.
Mhm.
It's awesome to see, the studio continuing forward, which is good. It's nice to know that it's still a little bit of legacy there, that it's still continuing to transform people's lives in the community,
Yeah.
and that people are still there. And some of my teachers are still there. Some of my clients who became teachers are teaching there. So it is sort of a nice feeling when you see that kind of that legacy,
Mhm.
creating that legacy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this Friday's edition roundup. Any final thoughts?
Say it with a smile.
Say it with a smile. Oh, I like that. We will be releasing details of the summit here coming up very, very soon. Stay tuned for that. That's awesome. I'm heading out to California in a couple weeks to do another on-site. So if you're interested, we do still have a few spots left for this year. If you're interested in having the team come out, And also, you know, we are always available for a free coaching call. Nina, our newest coach, is going to be starting taking clients very soon. So, which is very exciting. So if you ever want help with anything, you can always book a free coaching call. You can always book a one-off coaching call. We are here to help and support you, and so that you can live an ethically abundant lifestyle. That's what it's all about. All right, well, have a great rest of your day. Go out and do some yoga. Go secret shop. You know, that's another fun thing to do is to go take a class at another yoga studio. See, you know, see how they do things, how you stack up. That is always, and to Nita's point, yeah, you can't turn that brain off.
Can't turn it off.
I walk into a studio and I immediately, how many people are here? How many people do I think can fit in here? I wonder what their average revenue per visit is. You know, I'm doing like, ah. All right, Weissy, have a beautiful day. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Big love.